Oh, we are recording and we are live. It is 1 p.m. on the East Coast. It is 10 a.m. on the West Coast. It is the 7th of June in the year of our Lord, 2020. Season 10, episode 33, 529 times this face and or this voice has welcomed you to the Clubhouse Podcast live on the Vocal Now Network, normally Sunday nights at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, but today and next week we're going to be on Saturday just because we have two back-to-back pay-per-views, and that crosses over into our other show, the Cheap Popcast, which happens on Sundays. So those will still happen on Sundays, but Father's Day, we should be back to abnormal, at least for just a little while. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and this is my other Bob and Tom shirt I got. That's all. That and the hair is just out of control. I am not alone. Let's go through the dais. First up, he is my co-host, and he is also wearing a brand new shirt to the show. He is Alex. Good afternoon, sir.
Really going to throw it to me while I'm trying to scramble back to the mic?
Well, you were the first person on the thing, and that's just what I
That's alphabetical.
I don't think it's alphabetical, sir, because it's not.
Well, I am first alphabetical, though.
By first name, but
And
it's not listed
last
that
name.
way on. It's not listed that way on my screen. So go pound sand.
Oh, well, I can't. All the sand's getting removed currently, so if anybody hears the construction, I apologize.
You have a cat. Next up is the lady of the house, and she is fashioning her brand new headset, and it looks very fashionable. She is Jen Rome. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hello, everyone. So glad you're with us. And actually, it's a trial run borrowing from someone else to see how this works better for sound and sight for everyone.
It looks great, though. Is it comfortable for you?
Pretty much, it's similar to the other earbuds. It's just making sure the mouthpiece is where it needs to be. And
It sounds
Yeah.
great. You're doing
And
great.
congratulations. It's no longer borrowing. It's yours.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alex.
Rounding out the dais is the official fact checker of Sooner Gator Productions and a man that is ready for a season that may not happen. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Good afternoon, my friend.
Just quenching my thirst in my awesome container here. I'm trying to do a plug here.
I don't know if it goes that far. The container is an accurate statement.
He's got
Drinking.
the wrong shameless plug.
Oh,
What?
that's right.
Well, I'm trying to promote the show tomorrow.
No, you're not.
You really
You're
should
just-
promote
you're
the
using
show that
excuses
you're
now.
On versus the other show.
I need therapy.
Speaking of the shows that
He
we are
admits it.
on, part of the reason we're on so early today is I will be guesting on a podcast later this afternoon that I am extremely excited about, and we're going to talk to you about very soon. If you remember, I did a podcast about a month ago with friend of the show, Craig Price. He and I are going to be on again today recording, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about which movie we're going to be talking about, but if you know me, you know I'm very excited about what's going to happen this afternoon.
And we can see it in your eyes.
You can see it in my eyes.
And
I feel like I deserve
let me
a
tell you
ding for that
something.
one.
Let me tell you something.
I want my ding. Thank you.
Let me just tell you this. Craig Price ain't ready.
No.
Because I'm going to tell you something. I got 3 pages of notes. I am coming armed for bear.
And the name of this other show?
It's called Matinee Heroes, which is if you don't subscribe, he actually has an audio and a video. The video is just one section. It's kind of a subset like we do, where it's one piece of his show that he does separately for other movies. It's called Cast Off, where he has 2 people come on and they battle head to head to recast a movie. And I did that recently. You can find that online right now, where we recast the major roles from Mad Max Fury Road.
That was a lot of fun to watch.
It was a lot of fun to do. I mean, it's very difficult because I limit myself when we do that show. I limit myself only to if I were to remake that movie today. But the rule is that you can basically Time Lord the thing, and you can pull anybody from any era. And it was really neat because when we did the Three Musketeers, whereas I limited it to stars of today, Craig actually limited himself to other people that had been in other versions of the Three Musketeers throughout the history of ever.
Ooh,
And
I like that.
It's a fascinating podcast. If you haven't heard it, go download it. It dropped about 3 weeks ago, Alex. Is that right?
Yes.
3 weeks?
It was the same weekend as Double or Nothing, I believe.
So that's what?
No, we watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little over an hour long. It's shorter than our show. So
Kind of feel like I'm hearing somebody talk about Unspooled right now, but that's just
I'm no Paul Scheer. By the way, that's a wheels off episode this week.
Yeah.
I don't need to see that movie. I don't need to see Ninja 3. I didn't realize that was Special K from Breakin', but that's a whole different issue. All right. Let's get into it. We start with sports news. Formula One now is hoping to start their season. They were supposed to be this weekend at TMS, but I guess that's not happening. They're now shooting for July 6th to start their season, and they're hoping to have anywhere from 15 to 18 races before the end of the year. So
it's a solid goal.
NASCAR actually has 2 races this upcoming week. The Wednesday race, your Grand Marshals, will be Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles
Interesting.
as they prepare for their clash to become the next Intercontinental Champion, not on the pay-per-view.
Which allegedly already happened.
It'll be phenomenal.
Well done.
Keep forgetting I still have the drop board, but not the right drop. I don't have the drop we need. Let's see. MLS announcing the other day they will have some semblance of a season, but they're going to do an NBA, and they're going to do the whole thing at ESPN Wide World of Sports, which makes sense because if you've ever been there in Orlando, they have like 6 soccer fields. So...
Yeah. And didn't that just start out as like the open land where they didn't know what they were going to do with it? And they were like, let's do this.
That was part of it, but part of it was the acquisition of ESPN because they put the ESPN zone in. That was just the next level of that.
Well, but if I remember correctly, there was earlier discussions of putting in more baseball fields based on the Braves using the facilities.
I love that stadium.
But what I'm saying is like the backfield, so to speak.
Right.
That they were going to have more training fields, and they were like, let's divvy it up.
And another thing that people may not know, 30,000 acres of that land will never be developed on.
What's that?
Because Walt was a conservationist.
Okay.
And Walt bought all that land down there, and they used that 30,000 acres to cultivate and do research on conservation.
Okay, so he could change this, and he could turn this into Disneyland, but this land here is not to be touched in any way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Okay.
That is in the deal.
I think it's unless something harmful happens, and then it's to rescue if it's improvements to keep it wild and maintain the wildlife, it's allowed.
Yeah.
But other
Right. I
than
mean,
that,
like I said, the cultivation part of it's right, but they can't build on it.
well, because
So-
of course Epcot was always his thing. It was experimental prototype of tomorrow.
Community of Tomorrow. Don't forget to see.
Community of Tomorrow, or experimental polyester clothing of tomorrow. If you've ever worked there,
But also, that's not what it means anymore. Because it's tomorrow. It is tomorrow. So it's just called
today.
Epcot Center now. And so I don't know if I've ever told this story on the show, but as we've talked about on the show, the lovely and talented Mrs. Irvin, whose birthday is Wednesday, by the way, she and I went there on our honeymoon. And every time we talked to cast members, they were like, yeah, it's not an acronym anymore. But they had a contest amongst the cast members of what Epcot really stands for now. The winner of the contest was every person comes out tired. Because if you know anything about Epcot, you have to do Epcot over 2 days or you will die. Because
I would say that you need more than a weekend. You need a long weekend to even try and fight everything.
It's the magnitude of that. But that's why they say you should do Epcot Monday, Tuesday, because everybody's at the Magic Kingdom Monday, Tuesday. But we were on a bus, and I was sitting behind the bus driver, and we were just talking because that's what they do. She'd worked for Disney for like 15 years at that point. And she got on that subject, and she goes, yeah, they wouldn't take my entry. And I was like, okay, now you have to tell me because you can't say that and not finish the story. She goes, yeah, my entry was Eisner's paycheck comes off the top. I said, you are now my favorite person today.
So what did the original Epcot stand for?
The Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Because the whole point of Epcot was the original concept of Epcot, how we got here, this will probably be in Tech Talk, but the original concept of Epcot was going to be an actual community where people lived and worked and everything else, but it just never came to fruition. So it turned into more like it was modeled after the old World's Fairs, where you had exhibits that could talk about things like technology and fostering imagination and ideas and conservation and everything else. Like, I love World Showcase. I think it's amazing. You know, I had sushi in Japan, and I, drank a snake bite in England and all that. But Future World for me is
First time I ever had Chinese food was Epcot.
Oh, in the China Pavilion. But
So good.
I did tell my wife when we were planning out the honeymoon, I go, when we go to World Showcase, we can eat anywhere you want, except 2 places. We ain't eating in America, and we ain't eating in Mexico, because we can get that in Texas. Anywhere else.
And I mean, when I went, the first time I went to Epcot was the year it opened. So a good portion of the countries weren't even there yet.
80 or 81, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And they had these things called the living dolls. And these were people on stilts dressed up as dolls from historical portions of the country's history. And then also when I worked at Disney Store, because I did work at Disney Store and had the polyester skirt, we always called it the experimental polyester clothing of tomorrow.
God help you.
Mm-hmm.
You can still catch those living dolls every once and again. They bring those out, but it's usually for like the festivals they do and stuff, because they do a really neat food and wine festival in October.
And I have photos of them that I took on my disc camera. If you remember, it was the little round.
My mom had one.
I still have some of those photos, but apparently they were scaring children was the problem.
I need to hear more about this food and wine festival.
It's every October. It's the international. You live down there. How do you not know about the International Food and Wine Festival?
Because I moved away from there before I was old enough to appreciate things.
You are a human that has the internet. You should know these things. But apparently Disney is going to be
Let me Google
very
that for you.
busy in the next few months, because it is official. The NBA season will begin July 31st at the ESPN Wide World of Sports, with 6 preseason games and a 22-team field. We could go through it, but that's going to be a whole show unto itself to give you all the variables of who gets in the playoffs and who doesn't and everything else. It's a mess. But it is going to happen that the latest date of the NBA Finals will be October the 12th for the season to end, and then rumors of the 2021 season firing up in December.
Well, there's also the responses from a number of players saying, yeah, I'm not doing this. So we'll see where that goes as well. But like you said, there's so many layers to this. We could do an entire show.
Have you heard all of the suggestions they put forth? Because really nobody can have home court advantage of how it would work.
No.
One of
because
them
the NBA is still garbage.
One of them is the higher seed you get like, if you're the top seed, you get your choice of hotels to live in. Because I'm
intrigued. Okay, wait a minute. I am actually intrigued by this. This is kind of funny. It's like, guess what? We're the 1 seed. You're the 8 seed. Enjoy the Motel 6.
Alex, you're kind of distorted. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Sorry. Apparently, I came through clear enough for Don to get the joke.
It's good. No, I got it. Don't get me wrong. No, but they're talking about on grounds, because they're all staying on grounds. MLS.
But you're ruining my joke at that point. That's
rumor
fun.
is MLS is staying in city proper, which is
really
a weird thing. But they're taking all kinds of precautions. They can't shower at the facility. They have to shower at their hotel rooms.
Oh, that's going to be gross.
Yeah, you better have a whole lot of golf carts, because I'm not sure I'm putting all those guys in a bus all sweaty and smelly.
And they're just on the back of golf carts, just spread out and just trying to air dry on the way.
I don't need that visual.
The NHL is actually looking to permanently shift their calendar to start in December and end in August.
I am intrigued by this.
And they're getting ready to fire up every round of their playoffs are going to be 7-game series, and they're going to reseed after every round. It won't be bracketed.
I'm trying to think of what their benefits of this would be.
They used to do it that way. If I'm not mistaken, that's a fairly recent change where they didn't reseed after every round.
See, for some reason, no. I'm talking about the season being. It was always starting in September, October. But moving that to December is intriguing.
But I think,
but going all the way through August through the summer.
Yeah, but think about this. Hockey indoors, summertime, hot outside, it kind of makes sense.
It does, and it's also one of those where the only thing you'd be competing against for a majority of your season would be baseball.
But it's always been a winter sport. That's the thing. Hockey's always been winter.
But Don,
because of the ice, and they had to play outside.
Yeah, exactly.
December is actually the start of winter by technical definition.
I know, but going through
Fair.
the end of the summer, where the season ends in the end of the summer.
But again,
from
a climate standpoint, I would if you said to me, Rob, I got tickets to the Rangers before the new park because of the retractable roof.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I've got tickets to the Stars in the middle of July. I'd rather go somewhere where I'm not going to need an extra shirt in the car afterwards. It makes
I kind of
sense.
dig it, actually. I kind of
Especially-
really dig it.
Well, especially in that mid-June to late August time frame where baseball's all we have.
You know what? Light bulb. What was the biggest part of this that became such a success that everybody thought was going to fail? Hockey in Arizona. It was 112 degrees outside, and they were still cool inside, and the Coyotes flourished.
Mhm.
And that's why Wayne Gretzky is one of the smartest men alive, because that's the franchise he got in on before it boomed.
Well, they said the same thing about Dallas and the Minnesota North Stars and moving them to Dallas from Minnesota.
Yeah, but there's competing stuff in Dallas. Arizona didn't have anything to really compete with, so the idea of moving the schedule,
Basketball?
nobody cared about the Mavericks at that point.
No, he's talking.
But-
But yeah, okay. Don's talking. You mentioned there was no competition in Arizona. Don's talking about the Suns.
Yeah, there were the Suns, and there's the Diamondbacks, and there's the Cardinals.
The Diamondbacks didn't exist at that time.
Not when they moved. Not when they moved the Coyotes. But
Okay.
here's the other thing, though. If I'm the NBA and the NHL, what would I rather compete with? Especially in the heat of my season, no pun intended.
Mhm.
Major League Baseball or college and professional football?
No brainer.
Yeah, no brainer. I'll give you that.
That to me is the bigger factor here.
Exactly. Like that's why I was talking about before. The only thing they had to compete against would be baseball.
Right.
And even then, baseball's a marathon. Not every game counts as much as they like to think it does.
And this also, go ahead, Jen Rome.
I was going to say, and this is the perfect time to try and see if this would even make a difference. It allows for the full season to happen. You know, the world climate we're in is causing some changes, so we're going to have to shake some things up. Let's see how the fans respond to this. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it's doable. Is it too expensive to do the ice in the middle of July in Tucson, Arizona, or Dallas, Texas?
I also think that I want to see how this works economically with your ticket sales.
I bet it improves everything.
So there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk more about that as time goes on, because now we're getting into the thick of the deal. Up until now, we've been talking a lot in theoreticals, a lot in theory. Now it's starting to get real because these leagues are realizing we have to do something if we're going to do anything. Baseball may not even happen at this point because there's so much back and forth that owners are getting greedier, players are getting greedier. Nobody really wants to give either way. I'm going to say it. Baseball, you want to cancel the season? I dare you. Because you're going to be the only one that does, and you're going to see how these other leagues are making it work, and you're going to look like the idiots.
Well, remember, it was, what was it, the strike of 1993 where so many people left baseball, and that was, sorry?
Braves should have won the World Series.
I don't think so. Anyways, moving right along. But you had that aspect of people who, I don't want to say abandoned baseball, but it became distinctly not America's sport anymore.
Was
That's
that
when
93 or 94?
It was 93, I believe.
Okay.
No, or
Let me
I
look.
think it was
I believe the
94. Don, can you
rumblings
verify
might have
that?
started in 93.
I'm looking
Don,
right
please
now.
look that
Hold
up. I know that 93, 94 is the wheelhouse for it, but that's where the shift to football became permanent.
Even more so than it was before.
Correct.
Let's take a look, see what else we got going on here. The PGA rankings will officially start a week
It's 94.
Thank you, Don.
Sorry,
Thank you,
94.
Don.
No, you're good. No, that's what I asked for.
Okay.
The PGA rankings will officially start next Sunday.
Interesting.
The Ryder Cup decision the Ryder Cup still up in the air, but they have said they will make a decision by the end of this month. The Ryder Cup, always fun to watch just because I really like what the Ryder Cup has turned into.
Yes.
where it's more of a friendly competition, and you can see how much fun these guys are now having because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But fans still not going to be allowed at the events until right now at the Memorial in Alex's favorite state on July 16th. That is the rumor at this point.
Well, I'm just thinking they release the rankings. There's been no golf, correct? As of yet?
No, it's. I believe the first event is going to be the Colonial in Fort Worth here in a week or so.
Okay, but they're not going to release the rankings before that.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay, I was thinking if they released the rankings before that, it would be funny to see like Peyton Manning, number 3 ranked golfer in the world.
I would love that.
That's what I was kind of thinking. That would be a fun thing for the PGA to do.
Tom Brady is number 1 in ripped pants.
No. So you have Tiger's team lost or won. What?
Tiger's team won because it was Tiger and Peyton.
Okay, for some reason I forgot who was paired with who. So your number 1 golfer is Tiger. Your number 2 golfer is Peyton Manning. Your number 3 golfer is Phil Mickelson. Your number 4 golfer is Tom Brady's ripped pants. Number 5 is Tom Brady.
And then then from there you just go to the duel or for the skins game.
Absolutely.
Round out the top 10. All right, let's get into some TV news. A&E has pulled both Cops and Live PD from their schedule until further notice, given everything going on in the world. Instead, they will be airing its sister show called Live Rescue, which focuses more on fire rescue stuff than the police stuff. So they're not saying it's canceled. It's just being pulled from the air for now, which really is erring on the side of caution. And I've got no issue with it. It's
the absolutely only close to correct decision they could make.
Exactly. Crazy news from the CW this week. We talked last week about how Ruby Rose is not coming back to Batwoman for season 2. There's been a lot of different views on it. We talked about it on the show last week. Here's the thing. They're not going to recast the character.
Mm-hmm.
For season 2, Kate Kane will not be Batwoman. It's going to be a different character that they're going to make into that character. My question is, there are certain qualities about that character that if you cast somebody else in the role, is that going to, for lack of a better term, water down why that one of the reasons that character was so important to us? And let's just put it out there. Kate Kane is a member of the LGBTQ community, the character, as is Ruby Rose.
Correct.
By recasting that role, does that water down the importance of that character? If you go the same route. And if you don't go the same route, there are repercussions to that too.
Yeah, I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because of that aspect of now there is either less representation or this isn't that signifying. And I think they would go with sticking into the same kind of community or representation or with LGBT or any other group that they may get pulled in with this new casting. But I think you would have to do that because if you have no representation versus watered down representation by having multiple characters, I think you would err on the side of having more representation. I think that the idea of it being watered down is a fallacy.
I worry about them coy advancing this thing versus just recasting the role. I still think they should have just recast the role and kept it consistent, especially since there were only Don, make sure to mute your mic when that happens.
Sorry.
Because of the importance of that role, they should have just recast it and kept everything consistent. That's just me.
Yeah, I get that argument, but I also get them trying to separate the idea of being able to cast a wider net, so to speak, because we're all aware it's a show. We're all aware it's not actually happening. It's not a documentary. But at the same time, you're going to have those people being like, well, this is stupid. It's not the same person. Why are you calling it the same name? And it's like, okay, I need you to catch up to what I'm saying. This is for entertainment.
Well, and if you're of a certain age, they changed Darren's on Bewitched.
The Sergeant.
That's a very good point.
The Sergeant York theory.
Yeah.
Dick Sergeant, Dick York. Sergeant York is a movie, for those of you who don't know. Okay. The CW has also picked up an Italian drama called Devils with the Patrick Dempsey. Was he McDreamy?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like that whole Dermot Mulrooney, and I get very confused of that whole era.
Dylan McDermott, Dermot Mulrooney.
I love that game show on SNL. It's one of my favorites of all time.
He Can't Buy Me a Love, and he was McDreamy.
Oh, great movie. I need to revisit that one. I haven't seen that movie.
I remember him as Loverboy.
Oh, geez, with Kirstie Alley, where he's the pizza delivery boy. Whew, we're just going down the rabbit hole on multiple fronts today. FS1.
Do we want to go to With Honors? Because that was an underrated.
Toy Soldiers. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, my God. I forgot he was in Toy Soldiers.
Toy Soldiers is a great
Was
film.
he?
I don't think he was in that, but I like that movie.
And then we can go back to My Kids Incorporated because Toy Soldier and the single.
Martika. Yeah. All right. So Fox Sports has allowed a contract to expire for someone that I've always said was better on ESPN than they were on FS1, Alex, and that would be one Jason Whitlock from the Kansas City Star. Is that
I believe that's correct. I think he's actually been through both outlets in Kansas City, but most recently with the Star. Don, could you look that up for us, please?
Yeah, Jason Whitlock.
Yes,
Yeah.
WHIT.
And I say this a lot because 99 times out of 100, the coverage I see on ESPN is better than it is on Fox Sports. It just is. The only thing I let them rival is their NFL coverage because Fox, their NFL coverage has made everybody bring it to another level. Whenever I would see Jason Whitlock on PTI, I've always loved his work. It just seems like they watered him down on Fox Sports by he had
I think it's actually the opposite.
He had like 15 different shows in a month. They kept just moving him around, and then I just lost him in the shuffle.
Well, the problem is that I feel like they didn't water him down on Fox Sports as much as he had to make material stretch in different areas. Because if you go to the show that he had with Marcellus Wiley, he was I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. You know, the gloves were off, and he had more control over what he said and tended to go further. Less of a filter. Yes, but the problem is then when you move him to these other shows, it's like, well, he doesn't want to take away stuff from his own show, but he has to cover the material, so it comes across as watered down. Whereas when he gets to his own show, he ramps off so far that people tend to turn it off because it's the Stephen A. Smith of it.
And
where Stephen A. Smith on his own show had been so far out there that people didn't like it, but as he got more into the journalistic on other shows, you respect and understand why he had the clout that he did. And Whitlock was basically doing the same thing with Fox Sports, whereas on ESPN, he had limited or less exposure, so everything he had kind of was more directed and more deep.
Not a fan of the Stephen A. Smith, except recently the reporting he's been doing for SportsCenter, I feel has been very, very on point because he's not being Stephen A. Smith, all caps. You know,
he was with the Kansas City Star.
Thank you, Don.
I'm 2 for 2 on those today.
Yes, you are.
Do I get a third challenge now?
No. You have to earn the third challenge.
Oh, I've earned the third challenge by winning the first 2.
No. Yeah, now I see where you're going with it.
HBO Max news. They have announced that every season of South Park is coming to HBO Max.
Wow.
So Disney
Get ready for hiding in the closet.
We have all of the Simpsons, and HBO Max went, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of HBO Max, now, if you go out there right now, I didn't want to go into this because it would take the whole show, but I did see a list of the titles that HBO Max is going to be adding in this month alone, and it's pretty stout. Now, did I see What's Opera Doc on that list? I did not, but I have it on Blu-ray, so you get a stay, but I want it on there. But speaking of Disney Plus, the Daredevil rights will revert back to Marvel Studios. The countdown is on in 6 months.
Nice.
So you could get something at that point. They are neither confirming nor denying.
Where would you want it to be?
Wherever I can get new material.
That's fair. I just love what Netflix did with it so much that I would. It's one of those ones where, like we talked about with Batwoman, I would have such a resistance if they tried to recast.
There are conflicting rumors, and that no one will confirm nor deny that Charlie Hunnam will appear on, is it Charlie Hunnam? Did I get that right?
I don't know what you're referring to.
The guy
Guy
that's
from
played,
Sons of
that played
Anarchy.
Daredevil on, no, that's not Charlie Hunnam. The guy that plays Daredevil, Charlie Cox,
Charlie Cox, yes.
that he will make an appearance as Matt Murdock in the next Spider-Man film.
That would be awesome.
There
And I will say this.
Rumors.
When I first got into Daredevil and I was looking at Charlie Cox and I'm like, I really see it. I don't see Matt Murdock. I always pictured him being, which I hate to say this because the movie is terrible, but Ben Affleck's body felt like it fit the character of Daredevil for me better, even if everything else didn't, because Charlie Cox appears more diminutive.
Right, but I think that for me, that works because it throws you off the scent a little bit more.
That is very, well, I will say it took maybe 2 episodes, and I will say this. Daredevil's my favorite show that's ever appeared on Netflix. Not even close.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
I can't, I know there's competitors to the crown, but what everybody, from the writing, from the acting, from the action, to even just, the smallest details of sound, because obviously Daredevil, it's a big part of it, but the things that they did with that show are so mind-blowingly amazing. And if Wilson Fisk ever appears in anything and it's not Vincent D'Onofrio, I hate anybody who'd made that decision.
I put Vincent D'Onofrio on just about everything.
But as Wilson Fisk, it's just too perfect.
He was amazing on that show.
Mm-hmm.
TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week, season 1 of the HBO series with Jason Bateman, The Outsider, based on the Stephen King story, I believe. The 12th series of Doctor Who, available this week, and the complete series of Eureka. That was a sci-fi show that a lot of people got into there for a minute. So let's get into music talk. The Weeknd makes an announcement this week that he has donated $500,000 to the Black Lives Matter movement, and is encouraging a lot of people to find places to donate to help with everything going on. So we wanted to recognize him for that. A little bit of a scary moment for me personally this week. One of my favorite artists, Amy Grant, went through open heart surgery this week to fix a rare heart condition that she has had her entire life. It is called partial anomalous pulmonary venous return.
I want to say that was her struggles with that was actually an inspiration for one of the albums, like her biggest album,
Heart in Motion.
I believe so. Yes.
I mean, that would make sense since it's called that. Now,
I remember being very young and hearing an interview regarding that on the Y100.
My favorite album of hers, because my favorite album of hers is the one before it. It's called Lead Me On, which is the tour I saw her on, which is one of the great ironies of my life, is going to see Amy Grant in concert. And her concert was being sponsored by a Christian shoe company. Hi, babies.
Not me.
I know. But she was pregnant at the time with her second child, and she did the entire show barefoot. So there was an irony there that I very much enjoyed. I mean, that was at the Great Sunrise Musical Theater, too, by the way, now owned by Calvary Church, Fort Lauderdale. All right. What else we have?
If I can piggyback on that before we move on, I just want to give a quick shout out to a friend of the show, Jake Southall. I know he's going through a biopsy on his heart today.
Jake. And speaking of surgeries, Devin Pike had his yesterday. He is doing well. They're going to keep him another day in the hospital. But he says that the 7 sisters have been removed. And he says that they didn't find anything else. So General, rest up, get well. We'll see you very, very soon. And take your time, man. Take your time and rest. If you have to wait on Universal Remote and I just stay the smartest man on the internet for a few more days, I'm okay with that. Listen, because I won. I think I have more second place finishes than anybody else that's ever played that show, and I have like 3 wins total. So I'm happy. Hashtag Team Twitch. Let's see.
So you're like the Braves, but with 2 extra titles.
Yeah. Hey, we're not the Bills.
That's also true.
So, news for Alex. I know that you were busy, so you probably did not get to see the Dropkick Murphys show from Fenway a couple of weeks ago.
I actually did.
Oh, did you? Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, it was the one time, and you'll appreciate this. I will neither confirm nor deny I was crying during parts of it because I was very emotional. But what was really fun was saying, "Oh, no, don't worry, hon. I'll take care of the laundry," taking it upstairs and just putting it on the TV and doing the laundry. She's like, you never do the laundry. Why is this? She comes upstairs, laundry basket sitting next to me, Dropkick Murphys on the TV, just staring.
They raised over $700,000 that night for three different Boston charities. One being the Greater Boston Habitat for Humanity, also Feeding America, and I have to wait a second because the third charity, I need you to change your name because you're going to force me to say something that I don't want to say, that is very well documented on this show that I don't want to say. And you named your charity this. But I'm going to say it because it's your name. But I really want you to look into changing it because it's not a word. The Boston Resiliency Fund.
I'm so happy right now.
I hate you so much.
Why do you
It's
hate
not a word.
resiliency?
You can be resilient. You can have resilience. I don't care if it's in the dictionary. There's a lot of words in the dictionary that shouldn't be there. Resiliency is one of them. Make me say that word. Let's move on. So this next...
You have a co-host for a reason. You could ask him to be the one to say it.
No, I have to. I'm the host. I have to own it. This next
Interesting.
headline,
The first known use of resiliency was 1712.
Don't change it. Not a word.
Apparently it is.
This next headline, I'm not sure how to deal with. So the Don Henley has asked Congress to amend a 1998 copyright law. What he wants it to do now is he wants holders of copyrighted material to formally ask parties they believe have taken their content without permission to remove it.
You mean formally?
Did I say formally?
Yes.
Formally, you are correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know if there was a legal term in there. I didn't know.
This seems a bit tedious to me. Because if I play a minute and a half of Desperado and I get a call from Don Henley,
kind of worth it?
I think it has to do with being used in movies, TV, commercials, ad campaigns, things like that.
But this is also dealing a lot with internet.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
I mean, and I've never really understood this because, like, give me a heads up. Yeah, go ahead. I'm good, whatever. Because all you're doing is you're promoting my art. And you're giving me free publicity. Now, if you're using it for nefarious purposes, I reserve the right to say no.
And I think that's what he's trying to make them formally respond to.
Well, and then there's also, like, for our show, we are ad-free. We are also doing this because we love it. We are not making any money doing this. Whereas some of the other shows have ads, have sponsors. They make money for doing it. And why should that person be allowed to make money using his content when he's not getting any money for it? So I think there's some aspect
and I think
to
that's
that as
and
well.
plus you have the aspect too, because you run into this issue a lot with karaoke. When I buy a karaoke CD that I'm paying twice as much as I would pay for a regular CD, and that is documented fact, $30 for a karaoke CD, $15 for a regular. I am buying that CD with the knowledge that you are selling it to me for the purpose of doing my show. So why would I come under fire if I want to go on Facebook Live and throw some karaoke songs out there? I don't care. I don't want any money from it. I'm just doing it because I like to do it. Why would that put me in hot water? It doesn't make any sense to me because it's public performance either way. And in the age of the internet where you have everything on a computer anyway, and I'm seeing stories of bars that people are rolling into from the RIAA and people are getting fined because they don't have hard copies. If I'm going to do a show at a bar, I'm not bringing my CDs with me. That's why I have them on a hard drive. So I don't have to haul all that crap everywhere. And more often than not, people that are of that ilk don't even have the hard copies anymore because they got rid of them because they didn't need them anymore because they're, I don't know, in a hard drive. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's never made any sense to me. It's never going to make any sense to me.
But this also sounds like one of those where, let's be honest, there's people whose job it is to argue things like what you're saying that could get this shut down. He's only asking them to look into it. He's not dictating policy.
Have you ever seen Don Henley in public? He's dictating policy.
He's trying to.
An angry Don Henley is nothing I ever want to be within 100 miles of because I've seen it on things, and it's just not pleasant. But speaking of music and people that perform and things of its ilk, I want to let you guys know about friend of the show, Chance Munsterman, who has been doing live at Chance's house lately, sponsored by Joe's Tavern, who also sponsors Universal Remote. Chance has been raising money for North Texas Food Bank for the last couple of months. He's doing a lot of great work where he's going playing some of his music, playing some favorites from you guys, and interviewing people. There's a guy that was the very first interview on that show, but we don't want to mention his names, but his initials are me. So he and I did about a 1-hour interview where we had a great discussion about music and things we're into and things that we're doing during the pseudo quarantine. So make sure you follow Chance, Music by Chance on Facebook. He's got a band called Red Dirt Outlaws that are doing some great work as well. And I believe it's twice a week he's doing it, where he's just going online for a couple hours. He's playing music. He's talking to people, and it's awesome. He interviewed Devin recently. So go check out Live at Chance's house. He is doing some great work. I'm a big fan of the dude, so look it up. All right, music new releases and places you get music new releases this week. Boney James with a brand new album called Solid. And local product, Booker T. Washington High School and University of North Texas graduate and lady responsible for the first dance at my wedding 17 years ago come October, Nora Jones, with a brand new album this week called Pick Me Up Off the Floor. So that's what you've got going on this week as we march towards the summer music season. Summer officially kicks off in 2 weeks, y'all. Be aware of it. All right, movie talk. Let's get into it. If you remember earlier this year, and this movie did not get a huge release, but it definitely made some noise, Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan. That and a number of films are right now available to do VOD for free. Two of the big ones being Just Mercy and Selma. Right now, you can rent free on VOD from a number of different outlets. And the Criterion Collection is actually doing a bunch of their celebrated black films as free streams as well. So go out there, support what you love, and there's some great stuff out there that you can watch right now for free, which is awesome. Tenet is still holding fast for a July 17th theatrical release. I don't know how I feel about this.
But Christopher Nolan has already said that could very likely move.
It's going to depend. There's some stuff going on right now, and we're going to talk about it in Tech Talk. This is getting weird.
Well, and even Christopher Nolan openly admitted that the reason that they're holding fast on this kind of a date is to try and be that first weekend when everything opens back up, because they figure the theaters are going to flood, which they're probably right. So at that same time, they're in the business of making money. So why wouldn't you try to hit that spike?
Put a pin in that, because there's a question that's going to tie into that when we get into Tech Talk, because it's something I just thought about.
Okay.
And I'm going to be interested to see you guys' thoughts on this, because I agree, but I also don't at the same time.
Okay.
Because there's going to have to be some finagling of process as it pertains to that. Only one DVD and Blu-ray new release this week that I could see that mattered, and it's the Criterion Collection doing the highly touted An Unmarried Woman will be on Criterion this week. Let's just go ahead and get into Tech Talk. We don't have a whole heck of a lot this week. It's been kind of a slow week from an entertainment standpoint, just because of everything else going on in the world really needing the focus right now. So Universal Studios Hollywood says they are going to reopen in July. Orlando's talking like this coming week. They put up a post on Facebook this morning that said, get your walking shoes ready.
Because hashtag Florida.
City Walk, though, in Hollywood could be this week, which is like their version of Disney Springs, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, Texas amusement parks and carnivals will be able to increase capacity to 75% next Friday, as long as the county does not have more than 1,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Florida side of this we're going to talk about tomorrow, because it really does apply to what we talk about on the Cheap Podcast, because Florida's they're hitting the gas pedal a little bit. So, and just so that we're clear, all these spikes in cases, you got to remember 14-day incubation period. What you're seeing right now is the stuff from Memorial Day weekend. So we're really not going to understand how this week affected everything until closer to Father's Day, because you've got 14 days.
And I have my own thing. I don't know if it's just Memorial Day as much as the reopenings around the same time, where everybody flooded in without paying attention, thinking, "Oh, reopening means everything's gone." No, you morons.
No, but that's why they did that weekend, because it was the holiday weekend. It's economic. So let's get into this movie thing. Cinemark has stated this week that they do not believe that theaters will be back in full swing until 2022.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, but slower?
Cinemark has said that they do not believe that the theater industry will be back in full swing until the year 2022.
That makes sense. I mean, I understand their logic. I hope they're wrong, but
AMC now starting to hit the panic button a little bit. They are saying that the recovery on this for them is getting slimmer and slimmer every day. This is the largest cinema chain on the planet.
And it's about to be Amazon movie cinemas if they drive the price down further.
Here's the first question. Alex, you said earlier how people were going to flood back to the theaters. I don't know that I agree with that necessarily, because here's what I think happens. We already know that they're going to have to remove or block off seats for social distancing, at least for the foreseeable future, if not more long-term, which, number one, lowers your capacity in your auditoriums, which, two, in my opinion, means you're going to have less of, you can come see Ghostbusters in one of our 17 theaters we're going to show it in, because now you have less capacity for other films that need to release as well, which is going to be a problem. Then you have to look at other factors. And what I mean by that is, it would not surprise me in the least if theater chains didn't completely close their in-person box office and you have to buy tickets online in advance. So to further the social distancing, which really hurts your mall theater business. Because there's been more than one occasion that I've just gone to the mall to do something and gone, you know what? I got some time to kill. Let me go see a movie. And I'm saying that they're even going to say, you can't even use the kiosks because of the maintenance involved. You need to either book on your phone or you need to book online at home before you even come to the building.
I would say a majority of people do that already.
You'd be surprised.
Yes, I would.
It's a good mix.
I wouldn't say that there are still a good number of people, more than I think is really what I would expect, that I see in lines at box offices when I go to movie theaters.
See, and I see them at the kiosks, and I don't anticipate the kiosks going away. I think they'll just install sanitizer stations. But that's my opinion. But your other aspect on that is, yes, there's going to be restrictions. Yes, they're going to be spaced out. But here's the thing. We saw it as we just talked about with Memorial Day. People are stupid and flooded into areas even if they had to spread out. It didn't matter. Well, so I think the idea of people being able to get back to going to the movies or anything like it, especially with newer ones coming out at that point, if there are new ones coming out, but there will be the holdouts, I think you're still going to see people flooding in for the limited supply of tickets. And then you're going to wind up with more showings.
But I also think what you're going to have too is I think what the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to put barriers on the seats until they realize that people are going to remove those barriers, and then they're going to remove the seats. I think if it were me, I would just take the bottoms out of the seats and leave the backs so that when we got to a point that people could be closer together, it'd be easier to get things back to normal. But that's just me. I just don't think people are going to, if you just say you cannot sit in this seat, I don't think people are going to follow that. They're going to, I want to sit with my family. Well, sit 6 feet apart. You do it at home anyway.
I have a random thought.
Go ahead.
Do you remember when they first released the Back to the Future ride at Universal down in Florida?
I've never been to Universal, so I can't really speak to logistics on that.
Okay, so they did it basically in an IMAX theater. And everybody, every group, were sitting in their own DeLorean. But those were in like pods. What would I say to you if the pivot for the movie industry or for the theater industry was to do pods that were separated so that you would have to pay more?
40X?
I'm not even going that far.
Okay.
I'm just going far as like you separate into, so like example, the five of us are already in a group from a show. We know each other. It's a little bit different. And we split the cost of a pod. But we were separated off. It was like we were getting to watch IMAX in our own thing. They've already started doing things like this with the Dolby Cinemas where you are separated by walls. Well, what if you just put walls on the side and you have to walk in front to get in, but then you're separated by the wall in pods? I kind of dig the idea where it's like you feel like you have your own IMAX theater done to yourself.
Here's the playing devil's
Cost is a big issue.
No, cost is an issue, but let me play devil's advocate on that a little bit. Cost would be an issue from a capacity standpoint. Cost would also be an issue. You'd have to find an efficient way to clean between showings.
True.
That's going to be your biggest stumbling block.
You wand everything. I mean,
well, to do it efficiently and on budget, because you would have to literally clean every pod individually. And for those of you living in that dream world, they don't wipe down every seat between shows. I can tell you that because I used to work in a movie theater. I know how it works. You know, you're lucky if they sweep the aisles completely.
I mean,
just because they've got 15 minutes between shows.
right.
the theaters that went to the bed that you could lay down and watch your movie creeped me out before, creeps me out even further now.
Oh, yeah. But, and then here's the other part of that. You know, we've seen a little bit of a resurgence for drive-ins during this time. Is the next phase of resurgent now going to be the independent theater? Because of they're not parts of big chains that would suffer billions of dollars of losses. Do you see more Texas theaters? Do you see more Alamos? Do you see more of these regionalized and localized, if not independent, one-off theaters than we've seen since, I would say, the 70s?
And I don't know that that's a bad thing to go back to
Not
some
at
of
all.
the mom and pop.
Not at all.
I think knowing your neighbors and some of that is a good thing. With all that's going on in the world, get to know one another, talk to other people. Right now we're social distancing, but getting it out of big corporate conglomerates is going to be a good thing.
Don, what you got?
It's not going to be the way it used to be for a long time.
Agreed.
And I think once they get either a treatment or immunity to this disease, then I think it'll kind of go back to what it was, but let's say circa January of this year. Okay. But they have to reopen. I know AMC's the big dog and they're desperate. I mean, they're saying, you know, we still have to pay rent on these, you know, buildings and we're getting no revenue, and we had to furlough our people and all that stuff. And then when it opens, how big is it going to be? I don't know. Maybe that pod thing may work, or maybe they may have to say, please keep this many seats apart. I just don't have an answer. And that'll be interesting to see what does happen in the end. And maybe when they do find an immunity, it might be back to normal. Till then, who knows?
Let me posit something else to you.
Yeah.
And Alex, I defer to you on this, and maybe Jen Rome, Don, I don't know that if you have any, and you may want to Google this. Hollywood Studios at Disney has a restaurant that is called the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater. Could this be, even on a very primitive version of it, could this concept work for an actual movie theater? And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about and you don't want to Google it, I'll just tell you. It's this huge dome. And inside this dome, it is decked out to look like an old 50s style drive-in movie theater. And you literally sit in a car that has a bench seat. There's 2 bench seats. So you have like a front seat and a back seat. And you have the windshield and you have a counter and the whole deal. And the servers are on roller skates. And they have this big movie screen and they show old school sci-fi trailers in movies. Is this a model that could work under the right circumstances? Because with the way you look at somebody like the model that Mark Cuban's trying to work towards the NBA, where let's say, like Alex said, there's the 5 of us. Jay's not with us today, but he's always the 5th member of this band. We're around each other enough that if one of us had the disease, all 5 of us would have it. Logic makes sense. So what Cuban is saying is, I will let those 5 people sit together in a section that don't have to necessarily be as far apart as they would be from people that they don't know. And the longer you have no positive tests, you could take this group and then combine them with this group. And then you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow. With this particular model, you could say, okay, these 6 people, you're a party of 6, so we can put you in the same car, and then we just wipe down the whole car real quick at the end of each show and go on to the next thing. This might make a little bit more sense because, number one, the cleaning's a lot easier than having to do a pod because it's a little bit more open air. You still can get that theater experience, but you're still kind of contained, and you can separate the cars or whatever you use at a distance that could still be socially distanced.
So you're kind of saying like a section that could hold, say, it could hold 2, but up to 6, and then depending on that grouping. So like if the 5 people are from the same house or work in the same office and they're in-house together, they could sit in that one section together. And then if you have just this husband and wife, they would take up a section of that size with just the 2 of them.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen because I've got a really good picture that I just Googled it so everybody can see it. If I can get it done, here we go. And I have to do the extra piece of this. Here is the structure of the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater. Don, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Now, of course, these cars are way too close together for what we can actually do right now.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you remove every other car. So, you get rid of this one and you get rid of this one and you get rid of this one.
Theoretically, you could add another one on the end because of the space you're saving by having an individual road.
Is this something that could be feasible? And Jen Rome, I'll go back to yours. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, no, as long as you're not expecting to be able to sell every seat for every show, it's completely feasible.
Well, I don't think any theater is built to expect to sell every seat of every row, which is why you have the costs get to where they are. It's what they expect to fill is, I want to say 60% is what they're built and geared towards.
Right, but when they're lower capacity, if they can only fill to 25%, they're going to expect to sell 25%. They're going to expect that.
Right, and I think part of what is built into this would be the food costs along that idea. So the idea is you supplement your income with food and drink, or
where most of their profits
other
are
ideas.
anyway.
Now, remind me, Rob, I want to say there was an area of this where kids could just be sent away. Like an arcade that was attached to the dine-in theater?
No.
Okay. I
Because that's not
thought
the
I
point.
remembered.
The point of Disney is the family experience.
Right, but what I'm saying is that that would have to be removed. I really remember there being something because I remember being told to go away. Anyways,
I
but
think it was
you're
the
looking at a
waiting
couch.
area.
I call that
Okay.
days that end in Y, but that's just me.
That's also fair. But yeah, no, this absolutely could work. And to the point of if you could figure out how to lay it out and have it be financially viable, I would say start putting stuff on paper and find somebody with money. I don't know, Mark Cuban.
Because you have a lot of even these ballparks right now that are doing drive-in movies to get some kind of revenue in their building. I feel like I just feel like there's something to this concept because even locally here, closer to where Jen Rome lives, there have been a number of businesses recently that have been doing come park in our parking lot and we're going to show movies in the parking lot every Saturday night, which may or may not tie into Ragnarok this year. You don't know. I think there's something to this. Now I'm not a guy that can give you budgets and things like that, but I think that there is something that we can do on this particular vein of thought that can help get the wheels back on. Existing buildings, probably not, because of the retrofit you'd have to do. But a concept like this, where a theater chain could partner with somebody locally that could pull something off like this, I'm not saying it's the answer, it's an answer. And I guess that's where I'm going with this.
I think you could do it in current buildings, but it would require extensive retrofitting, but it wouldn't be any more work than just building would be. So I think you could theoretically take this and, I don't know, try to make Studio Movie Grill not be terrible. I mean, give them something.
That's also a mountain you got to climb.
And they wouldn't be able to do it with the smaller screens. Like Alamo here in Richardson has the one, I think, that sits like only 50 people. You wouldn't be able to do it in that size one, but then they have the two huge ones that they could do it in.
Or the one in Denton that has the big show in it.
Yeah, some of the ones with the big areas. And then maybe it's a combination of the two options where, you know, if people want to go and kind of just see a movie, maybe it's one or two to a group, maybe not even a group.
I kind of feel like you could use. Sorry, please
go ahead.
Finish. I kind of think you could use the smaller ones. Now, granted, you wouldn't be able to do it to the extent of what was on screen when Rob was sharing, but with the smaller screens, you're already having to space out those 50. So maybe you only have 3-4 rows of cars with the tables in that idea. But at the same time, you'd be able to fill more of that space than you would using the social distancing with those 50 seats. So theoretically, the smaller theater might be where you at least start to try that and say, like, look, we can't open these other theaters without having to go through all this gamut, but here's this smaller theater. The tickets are going to be maybe a little bit more because of what it is, but this way you can actually partake.
Okay, hold on. So now my brain's working a little bit more. Let's just talk about the Alamo specifically.
Okay.
And the way the Alamo is structured. For those of you that don't have an Alamo Draft House in your city, first of all,
I'm sorry.
I pray for you. Secondly, the way the Alamo is structured is you have seats and then you have an aisle in between each seat because that's where the servers can duck through and get your order cards and everything instead of them having to walk over everybody like some other chains we know. Studio Movie Grill. So why couldn't you, and Bill, if you use this, God bless you, just put my name on one. Take the structure you currently have and literally have something that could border off sections of 6 or 8 that you could decorate like a car. So 2 rows of 4 and then 2 rows in between them that are literally covered in something. So you would have them sectioned off, but the server could still get through the middle if need be. Is that something that could be feasible?
Right, and we're saying I'm saying like in the bigger theater, you can have it the group of up to say 6 or 8, but then in the smaller theater, it's in groups of 2s.
2 to 3.
I don't know
at
that
the
it'd be
most.
3. It'd be like 2s and little groups of 2s, and So a single person can do it, or a couple
Well,
can do it.
I would say like two. You would have it in groups of 4, but you could do 2, or it like you only had one couple, then you just would cover off the other one. You couldn't use that one for that particular showing.
And maybe a combination of 2s and 4s.
Right.
Because I know if I'm wanting to go see a movie by myself, I'm going to feel guilty if I'm taking an area where 3 other people could have been in, but now they can't because I don't want to sit by them. So have a combination and a mix. And even in the ones with the 6 to 8, have some that are 2s, 4s, 6s, and 8s.
Maybe put those on the outsides and your larger groups in the middle.
Yeah.
I think we're doing good work here today, people.
So we need to make sure to send this link to Bill so he can
That's
see.
right. Bill DiGaetano, we love you, brother.
No. We need to get an attorney to trademark the idea. Then we send it to Bill. I'm here for the greed. Okay, I'm here for the greed.
So we have the smartest man from remote control and the greediest man,
So
or
that's
just looking out for our.
I am not the greediest.
No,
I'm just the
I'm
greediest on
rephrasing-
this show.
Is in the cell below me.
I'm rephrasing it to the most financially observant and protecting of us on the show,
As long as I don't have Amazon.
to the lady of the house, to the fact checker. There's our titles.
This is. I think this is worth looking into. I think we've stumbled on something here. Because I really think right now people need something to glom onto, and especially right now, people want to think about a simpler time. And what better memories to have than the drive-in movie theater? It's one of my favorite things in the world, and as soon as I can get down to Ennis, I'm gonna go again.
I've only been twice to a drive-in, and
So much fun.
both times involved my parents having a station wagon and my sister and I falling asleep in the back.
I want to say I saw Empire at a drive-in in 1980.
There was a Superman and a James Bond, and one of the two involved a pool with sharks in it that they make fun of in the Austin Powers.
Which freaking sharks on their freaking sharks with freaking lasers on
Yeah.
their freaking heads.
That was one of the original movie they were making fun of was one of the 2 I saw at a drive-in.
That would have been.
For Your Eyes Only or Octopussy? It was Roger Moore, wasn't it?
It would have
Where
had
he's-
to be for Jen Rome.
Where he has to like swim by those sharks and everything in the pool that gets covered and everything.
I don't think it was either.
That's Thunderball.
because that was a Sean Connery one.
And I thought that was a Roger Moore one where he had to.
The one where the dunking into the tank was Live and Let Die.
Yeah, he's right.
This would have been when I was young, so it could have been the Superman one as well. I don't remember if it was the James Bond or the Superman that had the sharks.
1973.
I was born in 74, and I was it was when we were in Texas, so it would have been after 78.
Well, I mean,
Could have been a reshowing of the
It
Bond.
could have been like a retro thing too.
Yeah.
And I was very upset to find out, Alex, this is more for you. The Thunderbird now not the record holder for the world's largest drive-in.
Really?
Somebody else has that title.
That's kind of sad.
But they're putting a brand new one in up a little further up the coast. That when they get it done, it's going to be pretty awesome. I've been seeing
At the swap shop.
the swap shop, the big circus in the middle.
Oh, where Steve-O got his start.
Good mercy. Kids, if you want to look up some great memories that you don't have and you want to have them, just Google the Fort Lauderdale Thunderbird and Swap Shop.
And it's one of those where if you do look back on it, you may go, dear God, who let me go in there without gloves on?
Yeah. But that was the charm of it.
That was the charm, that you may have had hepatitis coming out.
Right up the street from the MacArthur Dairy Factory.
Mm.
So the restroom had the rolling piece of fabric to dry your hands on,
We will neither confirm nor deny.
They didn't have fabric.
and the container was and the cover was rusty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The sign over the door on the way out just said, "Why have paper towels? You got a shirt."
Oh, things
Probably.
that were like that swap shop were all the rage down there. There were like
Yes.
huge. And again, how we got here, I don't know. But they were these huge, they were like huge airplane hangars. that had these little itty bitty shops that were partitioned off, and you could barely fit two people to walk in the walkways.
And they weren't always inside either.
Correct.
It actually expanded to the point where, like, here's a section of parking lot.
Right. People that had stuff hanging out outside their cars.
Yep.
That's it. We take an airplane hangar and turn it to a drive-in.
I am way on board with that idea, actually.
That was when the very first MTV Movie Awards were held.
Wait, I can take this one step further.
Okay.
We do the same thing as far as the drive-in with the airplane hangar, and we invite food trucks.
And you can, like, by your row, go over to the food trucks like they have it in 15-minute intervals or something, because you got to have the social distancing.
I would say,
Hold on, I need to text my attorney.
next level, whoever owns the airplane hangar designs an app, and inside that app, you have the currently featured food trucks. You order it from your car, and it's brought to you.
I can outsource this as well. Postmates, DoorDash sponsors, they pay for the rights to own this.
Did this just become like a Viking Raiders Street Profit segment?
Call Mike Heinem.
We are an amazing group. Look at what
We
we've
are
accomplished.
innovators. It's why we've been in the game for almost a decade. You know, everybody and their brother got a podcast, but how many of you can say you got a decade under your belt? Because we hit that next month.
And convertible sales can go up because
That's right.
you know you'd want your convertible.
Well,
It's a
but
hangar.
you also who else's sales can go up? Junkyards.
Oh yeah.
Get some of these cars that have been hanging out in your junkyard for 20 years. Get some Rust-Oleum on there. Take it to Earl Shives. He'll paint any car for $19.99. Let's get it done. Put these bad boys in the airplane hangar, and here we go.
And then when the show's over and all the cars have left, you use that hospital grade little robot that looks like it's going to exterminate and let it do its UV light. Then you bring in the next group of cars.
I can make this even better. So your average full-size insulated metal storage airplane hangar costs about $35,000 and only $600 to ship. We put that up. When that one makes enough money, you buy another hangar for another movie that goes on just far enough away that you don't
How big
hear.
are those, though?
Pretty massive.
Okay. Because we got to house all the tech and everything, too.
Oh, I understand that. The one I'm looking at for that amount also happens to have a separate office in a corner where everything could go.
Interesting. You got a little out of focus there. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I got excitable and bouncy. But you could literally just start doing hangar next to hangar next to hangar for the different theaters. I kind of love this.
And then you just have to have the land and pay taxes, but the cities are going to want the
Mike
deals.
Heinem. Sorry.
Call him on your own time. This is our time right now.
Well, no, if we're all taking a cut of this, we can let him talk to him.
All right. We could do this all day, but
This is 25% of my time.
We're almost at an hour and 15 minutes. We need to wrap this up because I got nothing else on the run sheet. So next week, we will be on Saturday again because we have 2 back-to-back pay-per-view weekends, which doesn't make any sense, but that's a whole different topic for a whole other time, especially tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern, where we will be back at the Vocal Studios for the Cheap Popcast, so make sure you join us for that. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. You can also check out our website, even though we haven't updated anything for a while. Maybe you want to reminisce and read some old reviews. I'm good with that because it is www.theclubhousepodcast.com. Find out everything.
That's our website.
Don, you don't do that in the
Not at the close.
Okay.
You've
Well, I thought
been
we
here
were-
longer than the other two combined. You know how this works.
My bad.
That's what she said.
Oh, that time it was Dawn, not her.
You can follow us on social media. Twitter is at Clubhouse Show. Everything else is The Clubhouse Podcast. All 3 words in that order, or you will wind up somewhere else. You can follow me on social media if you like. This Monday night's trivia. This Monday night's poetry reading will be Green Eggs and Ham. Everything is Yes That Rob Irvin. That is spelled ERVIN.
I'm Jen Rome Home on Instagram.
I am Vexploit on all social media. Remember to catch us on the Vocal Media Network at VOKALnow.com at our regular shows every Sunday. If you'd like to help out with the show, please go to prowrestlingtees.com/thecheappopcast and buy shirts. And maybe tune in tomorrow for some picks, perhaps, since nothing is recorded. Oh, boo.
Boo.
Your main event was recorded on Monday.
Was it?
Yeah, it hasn't
You
released.
waited
Nobody
30
knows
seconds. You got it on your phone.
Well, I was trying to, but you didn't. You took too long. I sent that like 5 minutes
You
ago.
texted me while I was talking.
I sent that 5 minutes ago before we got to the close.
I literally saw it.
I can't help it if your provider sucks.
I can't help it if it takes your provider 20 minutes to get it out of your neighborhood because you have no cell coverage.
That's also fair.
Don, did you do
All
your
right.
I've lost track.
No, we're on to Don. He's got to cough and then say Igbunu.
Oh, let me take a drink of my nice container. Speaking of the show tomorrow.
That one works.
Okay,
And the wheels off.
We almost landed the bird. We almost landed it.
Theoretically, we don't need the wheels until we have our drive-in theaters.
On Twitter. Do the Fred Flintstone thing. You know, do the Will and Twilly things and put the Dino through the head, put the kids on top. There we go. All right, at Twitter, I'm heading Bunu. IGBU. You. I wear my Fred Flintstone outfit just to make the point.
You know, this
Rob has
episode,
shifted past red and is heading into purple.
this episode was going way too well. Like all the other stuff we normally screw up just piled up and piled up and piled up and all just wound up in one Costco-sized lump sum at the end.
Blame the
All
captain.
Right. And he also emailed me, Don at the clubhousepodcast.com.
At least he got that part.
I got the
Email
Twitter part
Don
too.
if you would like us to come to a live show when we get the wheels back on everything, which for this show will never happen. But speaking of live shows, Thursday night, we will make an announcement on our social media from our friends at Garland High School. The Real Owl Film Festival is currently being judged by at least the 4 people on this show. And Mrs. Schubert wanted me to send her thank yous to both Alex and Jen for stepping up and helping out on that. That's something that we do every year for Garland High School, where we are in. Somebody thinks we're industry judges. I love it. We work with them on their student films. Garland High School has a film department, and we have been asked. This is our 4th year, Don, 4th or 5th?
I think our 5th probably. I'd have to.
4th or 5th year that
yeah.
they've asked us to come help them out. This year they've had to do it virtually because of everything going on. But that's Thursday night. They will be showing the films, and there will also be the awarding of awards. So guys, make sure that your ballots are in by midnight tomorrow night. That is the big deal, so they can get everything tabulated. Some great work. These kids are so talented, and we are so honored to be a part of the Real Owl Film Festival, as we are each and every year with Garland High School, because you got to give back. Blessing ain't a blessing if you can't share it. And we want to thank the Schuberts for letting us be a part of that. They are such amazing humans that we are all huge fans of. You can email me questions, comments, concerns. Tell me to go pound sand. I am Rob at theclubhousepodcast.com. Charlotte Parker's on Pinterest because we are morally obligated to say that. Respective spouses are actually within geographical desirability of all of us right now, so we can't say they're waiting for us at the house because we all are at our respective homes. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, will be back at its normal time on Father's Day, so join us for that, and join us next Saturday when we do all of this madness again. We are so happy that each and every one of you join us each and every week. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys this. Coming into today's show, before we started recording today, if you take every episode of the Clubhouse Podcast, every home show, and every episode of the Cheap Podcast, 1,075 shows that this group of people in one form or another has done since July of 2010. So how about that? I actually did the math this week. I am so proud of this show and everything that we do each and every week. Go back and watch on the archive. We got a lot of stuff out there. All of the home shows that we did during full-blown quarantine are available right now at vocalnow.com for both shows. Go check them out. And for those of you that have asked me, I don't edit. This goes out, blemishes and all, because I want you guys to understand, like, it's not about vanity for us. I mean, if it was, would this be happening right here? I don't think so. We love you guys so much. Thanks for being a part of the Empire. So until next time, for the coughing Don.
Sorry about that.
Remember, Don, the mute button is your friend when you have
I'm
to
trying
cough.
to find it out here. There it is. Unmuted. There we go. I'm back.
I hate you all so much.
So until next time, for Alex, for Don, for Jen, for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. Dear God, man. Brittany Palmer, save us all.